Hello, this will be a demo of the Airtable PPM solution built by GPMO. To start with here, we are on the data layer. This includes the back end of our solution. It includes a handful of tables, including our portfolio summary table, which includes a list of all of our projects. Program summary is where our programs are stored. Phases is where all phases are stored for each project. We have our project plan table, which is where all of our tasks are stored for all projects. RAID log is where all the RAID items are stored for all RAID logs for all projects. Document repository is where all the documents are stored for all projects. Resource plans is for resource management. It shows all of the resource utilization for each person across all projects. We have our user directory, which is basically your user list for all users within your organization or within your department or with whatever the solution is built for. It'll have a list of all of your users, including key information about them. We then have a roll-ups page, which is for rolling out data across all roles for all users. We have a Skillsets table, which lists out skill sets that can be tagged to different users. Again, this is our data layer, and this is where all the data is stored. The front end view will be the interfaces, as I go to in a minute. And our automations across this solution, as you can see, there are quite a lot. And all these automations keep the solution moving forward. And when you're submitting new projects, when you're getting notified about different things, when you're moving projects through the intake process, etc., all these automations drive those things. Automations within Airtable are very powerful. They allow you to do a lot of things, including custom scripting for certain actions that aren't default out of the box with the automations. Regardless, though, you can get a long way with the default automations they have within Airtable. Pop over to our interface layer. The first thing you'll see here is on the left pane is that we have all of our interfaces. Intake and governance, PM interface, project team member interface, portfolio interface, resource management interface, manager view, resource and utilization, and executive dashboards are all of the interfaces. Below each interface, there will be pages. So new project request form, PMO intake dashboard, etc. These are pages underneath the intake and governance interface. To start with here, we're looking at a form. This form is embedded within this interface page. From here, you're able to click into and type and enter a form just as you would in any form submission process across other solutions or softwares. The text boxes here have rich text. You're able to do a variety of different things, including numbered lists, bullet lists, and checklists. So as you're submitting information about a project, you can be really custom with what you submit. You're able to select drop downs that can be pre-configured. We have category, project type, date pickers for desired delivery date, etc., as well as contact fields such as business owner requested by, where you're typing in an email. You can also attach files down at the bottom using the attachments column that can be added to the form. So you can see that you can attach from local files, which is your computer. You can attach links. You can submit things from your webcam, Google Drive, OneDrive, Box, or Dropbox are all methods that you can add attachments into Airtable. Once you're done, you can click Submit to submit the form. The dashboards here for PMO intake dashboard, PMO governance dashboard, PMO sequencing and assignment dashboard are your 3 intake dashboards within this specific solution. They can be expanded, and we can build more dashboards or consolidate if needed. For this solution here, you'll start on the PMO intake dashboard, and as you progress through the intake process, the projects will move down the list here on the left. To start with, all 3 of these dashboards will look slightly similar with a chart up top like this one showing project request by status, and then we'll move into a variety of different views below. So starting on the intake dashboard, we have project request by status showing us a count of all projects that are in the intake status and what their status is. You click the expand button over here to pop out a side page where you can see what projects make up each of those statuses. You can also filter using the filter drop down, and you can also click directly onto the status bar itself to see what projects make up that bar. Back here, we're scrolling down, we have the first view here, which is project charter review. This is where you're building out your charter for your projects. So this example here, I'll show this project called Cloud Pulse. If I click on this, it opens up the page directly within this interface page here for the specific project. You can see that I have a lot of fields here for my charter, and these are text boxes that I can edit directly in this view. I can select executive sponsors. I can change the business owner or add the business owner. I can add budget. I can add all this information for my project, including attachments. I can also add comments here. I can mention people if I want to mention a certain person to have them collaborate on this project. I can also scroll over and see revision history to see what has changed over time, if there's edits being made by the same person or multiple people. I can also collapse this to look at a bigger view. Once you're done with your charter, you have the ability to click this Ready for Governance Review button to push it to the next phase, which will move the governance approval status into pending, which will allow it to move on to the next page for it to be reviewed by governance. This three dots here also allow you to print the page. So if you want to print this as a PDF and you want to send it to someone else outside of Airtable, or just to have a record locked in, you can do that using the Print This Page button. So if I were to click this button from here, it would move out of this view here under Project Charter Review. It would move down into this view here called Projects Pending Resource Assignment or Kickoff. And I'd be able to see that the projects that are existing in further statuses than pending review down here, along with their approval dates, start and end dates, so I can use that while I'm building up my charter and determining certain dates that I want to request. Each of these views allows you to filter by certain things. We can filter by any field, almost any field within the table on the back end, to allow people to have custom views and filter the whole page. As I said, so once you click Ready for Governance Review within the charter, it moves on to the next page, which is your PMO Governance Dashboard. Here at the top, we've got a very similar chart, except this is showing by governance approval status. Similar to before, you can click Expand and see what projects make up each. We have tabs here for you to flip through. You can also click directly on the bars. Down below, you can see that we have several sections here for projects that are pending governance approval. You have the ability to filter by executive sponsor in this view. Pending approval, this is where you can see projects that are pending approval and haven't been approved by governance. As you can see, the governance approval status is pending. If I were to click on any of these projects, you can see that I see a very similar view as before. I can continue to edit charter fields as you did on the last dashboard, but I also have the ability to enter a projected start date and a projected end date in this view. Once I'm done editing the charter, this is where the approvals happens. In the top right, I have a button for approve. And if I click the three dots, I also have a button for not approved and defer. Depending on the decision here, automation drives the governance approval and the status to the next step. If I back to the dashboard, you can see that I have an approved projects view and I have a deferred not approved projects view. Depending on what I choose in this charter view here, whether I choose approve, it would go to the approved view. If I choose not approved or defer, it would go to the not approved and defer view. In these two views here, the view that you would see when you click on a project is almost identical to above, except one main difference in that it is now read only. So you can see here I can click in this one and I can't edit any of the data. It has been approved. So it's locked in stone and it's stored. So going forward, that charter is locked in stone for you to reference at any time in the future. To the right, we have the deferred not approved view here. This one is very similar to before, where it is read only, but you have the ability to click the button to reopen project. This pushes the project back into pending review, allowing you to edit the charter again and push it back through governance approval. Once it's been approved in governance, it would move down to the next section here on this dashboard, which is prioritization. From here, you're able to see a chart showing all of the projects that are in prioritization currently, including those that are pending, which means they haven't been given a determination yet for priority. Again, I can see all the projects. I can click directly on the bar to see what projects make up that bar. Scrolling down, I can see all the projects that are represented above. If I click into any of these projects, you can see that I have the ability now to see the charter information from before, but also enter in prioritization information. So here I've got 6 fields here that make up an impact and urgency score, and depending on what I choose from 1 to 5, drives that score. So if I change this score, you can see that it immediately changes the impact score and the relative impact, as well as the impact and urgency score. If I change this enough, you'll see that the priority level will actually change as well. So I'll bump some of these down. We'll get down to a P3. You see, and if I were to bump it back up, it goes to P2 and even into P1. So after I do this, if I back out, I would see those changes here in this chart down below. And then once I'm done with my prioritization, I'd be able to click Approve Determination, which would move to the next step. At the very bottom of this dashboard, there is a prioritization matrix, which just takes this list of projects and puts it in a matrix from P1 to P4. You can get the same interactivity with what you click on the project, clicking down there as well. The next page is the PMO sequencing and assignment dashboard. As before, you can see a chart at the top. This chart represents the project request by priority level for those that have been approved for prioritization. You can also click here to see those projects as well. Scrolling down, I can see there's one view here for assign resources to pending projects. This is where I'm able to click into the project and assign resources. So I click into this project called Future Core. I can see the key information at the top that was approved back in governance. I can also see two sections here for project team and resource plans. From here, I'm able to assign people to the team. Maybe we don't know resourcing assignments yet, but I want to assign users. I can use the add user button. I can choose anyone, including placeholders, to add to the team for future resourcing. Below, I can add resource plans. So, for example, if I do know what the allocation would be for someone specifically or for a resource for certain assignment dates during the project, I can add plans using the Add Plan button. Here, I would select the resource, and I would select the start date and end date, and then I would allocate the hours per day. So if this was a 1 week assignment for an estimated 5 hours, I would do 1 hour a day. I click create and it adds it down here to the bottom. I can then click into this and a side window will pop out where I'm able to see that assignment. I can also see the user directory to see that person, their entry, which I can then click on and see information about that resource, including their allocation across all projects, number of projects they're assigned to, their reporting structure, bill rate, etc. And I can see a utilization for that individual user. We'll also be able to see any projects that they're assigned to as a project manager down below. Once you're done assigning resources, you have the ability to click Approve Resource for kickoff. This is driven by an automation that moves the status into the final step, which is approving it for provisioning. Once it's been approved, it will show up in here, and I have the ability to click this checkbox to create the project assets, which would be the project plan, the RAID log, document repository, etc. So after I click this box, it would disappear from this view, and then it would show up in the next two views, which are PM interface and project team member interface. Depending on what type of user you are, whether you're a project manager or a team member, would depend on which interface that you would use, and you would be shared to either of these depending on that role as well. So you would not see all of these views. If you are a project team member, you probably wouldn't see the intake and governance tabs either. Those would be for the PMO or for admins to manage. To start with the PM interface, the PM interface and the project team member interface are virtually identical, with the exception that the project team member interface has 2 extra pages for my tasks and rate items. The PM interface and the project team member interface for the main page here for my projects is exactly the same, with the ability for you to see your name up here at the top. You can click into and see key information about yourself, including utilization for all projects you're assigned to and all projects that you're assigned to as a PM, as well as a list below of all those same projects where you can actually click into the project itself, which is where you would manage that project. In here, you get the ability to edit certain fields, including status and description. You can see who's been assigned to your project. You can add users to the project team. You can see resourcing plans here where you can add plans below. And then you can manage your project plan from here by adding tasks, changing task names, status, dates, etc. You can also manage your RAID log from here, including opening up the RAID log item and editing information from inside here, leaving comments and collaborating, and closing out the task using the status. At the very bottom, you have your document repository for each project where you're able to see any documents that were attached and have been added for that project. So very similar to this, if I were to go over to the project team member interface, you would see the same view. The exception here is that when I click into any project, this is now read-only. The project team member interface is read-only for most of the things that are in this view, with the exception of any task that you are assigned to. In the project team member interface, I have the ability to click into my tasks and my rate items as well. My tasks is a view here that shows me all of my tasks that I'm assigned to, grouped by project. And so I can see that if I were to collapse these, I can see I have tasks assigned across 3 projects. I can also see what phase they are in. I can also click into these tasks, edit the dates and the status, as well as add subtasks, add predecessors, etc. My rate items is very similar. It's just for rate items. Those are the 2 interfaces that most users will be interacting in from day to day. The portfolio interface is where you would be able to see portfolio views and roll up reporting across all projects. From here, you can see charts such as projects by status, counts for active projects, duration, and projects ending in the next 30 days, as well as a bar chart for projects by program and projects by status. The view below is a very similar one that you've seen before on the other interfaces for like PM interface and project team member interface, but it lists all projects. From here, you can actually click into these projects as well to get that same view as you were before. The exception here is now everything in this view is read-only. You're not able to edit anything. It's just an overview. We're able to see what's going on within each project. And then below that, we have a closed project section, which shows information and metrics for the projects that have been closed within your portfolio. Next, we have a portfolio projects list, which is very similar to what you could access on the overview page. This is more of just a flat list with key information about each project, including program status, start date, end date, who's been assigned to as the project manager, and the description. I can also click into this to get that same view that you've seen before. Portfolio active projects is a view that allows you to click on all projects on the left side. And once you click on it, you're able to see key information about the project, overall start date, end date, status. You're able to see the project team for all those been assigned. You can see all rate items, any conversations that have been had on that project, as well as all documents for that project. At the top, you're able to see each of the phases with their start and end dates, status, and any risks that are associated with those phases. You can also click directly into the phase to see key information about that phase, as well as all tasks that are in each phase. The final page here is the portfolio closed archive. This shows us everything that has been completed or canceled. And from here, I have the ability to archive by checking this box to archive all tasks and all rate items and everything that exists for that project. The resource management interface includes a lot of pages, a variety of them, including a view that looks just like this that shows utilization. This first view shows utilization across all people in your whole organization. As I scroll, you can see the different conditional formatting showing who's overallocated at different times. I can expand them and see more details about the person's assignments, including all projects they're assigned to, and the allocation dates for those with the allocation. I can filter by any of these options up here: resource, resource type, role, skill sets, program, manager, and L3, as well as I can custom group, custom filter, and custom sort. I can also switch the timeline to grid if I want to see it in a grid view, which is much less visually appealing, but if you want to see it in a grid, you have that ability. The timeline itself is able to be adjusted person to person. So this is currently split into quarter and weeks. If I want to see quarter and months, I can do that. If I want to see a 6-month view, I can do that. If I want to see a year view, you can really adjust this to however you want to see it. Resourcing high utilization is the same view, with the exception that it is filtered for anyone that has high utilization at any point. And you can see that some people have very high utilization and some people have zeros. But if I were to scroll to a certain point, you would see their utilization spike for that. So you can really see at a glance who is in trouble from a utilization perspective versus and when they lighten up and can take on more work. Utilization by role is broken out by role, and here you can see under each role you have person and placeholder, and then it has every person that is or placeholder that is assigned that role. You can see their utilization. Everything else is the same compared to the other views here. Resourcing percent allocation by project. This is showing the average allocation across roles and the overall project itself across all allocations for each individual project. Next, we have role roll-ups. This is where it shows roll-up information for each individual role, including the count of resources, the start and end dates of those assignments for each resource, the total hours allocated to anyone in that role, and their average allocation. So you can see 158 hours across 67 resources gives you your average allocation. You can also see all the users who were assigned as that role. The resourcing project list is a list very similar to what you've seen on the portfolio interface, except that this is tailored more for resourcing information. You can see all projects, how many resources are assigned to them, how many total hours are assigned across those resources, as well as key information such as start date, end date, and project manager. You can also click directly into this again and get that same view that you've seen before that is read-only. Next, we have the user directory. This is a view that shows a list of every person in the organization, where you can click in and see information about them and make adjustments. This is a view that would be hidden from the majority of users outside of maybe an HR resource or a PMO admin for them to make changes to availability, bill rates, and then time zone, region, etc. You can also see any project they're assigned to and resource plans they're assigned to. Out of office calendar is exactly what it is. It's a list of all out of office that have been submitted. You can use this button up here to submit out of office time. It'll show up in this list. It'll also show up in everyone's allocations. So if you look at someone specific, you'll be able to see their out of office in their utilization. The last two interfaces we have here is manager resourcing utilization. This is a view that is filtered and grouped by manager, where they can see the people underneath them and what their allocations are and utilizations are. The manager view current user is the same, except it's filtered for you. So when you log in, if you're a manager, you would see the resources that are underneath you and their utilizations. Last, we have executive dashboards, which currently is one dashboard for a resource management dashboard. This allows you to see information about your resources across all projects, including the number of allocations you have, number of people versus placeholder. You're able to click into the expand over here to see what placeholders are assigned and where at and for how much, for you to do some planning to see what resources you have available to assign those to replace those placeholders. You can then see charts for total allocation by project and total resources assigned by project, where you can click expand and see other details about that. You can click specifically into bars as you could before to see key details. At the top, you're able to filter this whole dashboard by any of these items: resource, role, program, project, overall status, manager, and assignment start and end dates to see filtered information. And that is the PPM demo for the Airtable PPM solution. Thank you.